adjust a better angle.
Yeah. Okay, we are now online, live.
Awesome. Sorry. Okay, great. Awesome. So welcome everyone, and welcome Haqqan. We are so happy to have you today with us here. Today we are going to talk about Zero Knowledge University, Haqqan Law, and what are they doing in this great organization. I'm Gülcan from Patika team, and as you might all know, at Patika we are doing a lot of coding training in different areas and partner with a lot of companies in Turkey and beyond Turkey, and really help a lot of people reach more fair job opportunities and training opportunities around the world. And Web3 was one of the areas that a lot of our followers and a lot of developers in our community were asking us about. They were asking, when are we going to bring content? When are we going to bring job opportunities in Web3 to the country? And so we decided to talk with some Web3 companies around the world, and Harmony and Zero Knowledge University was one of them. They are actually doing really structured trainings and welcoming everyone from around the world. And they even award people with different meanings just to complete these trainings. So we were very impressed by that, how they organize their trainings. And we reached out to Haqqan. Thankfully, he replied back to us and hope that we can bring more people from Turkey and from other parts of the world to the Zero Knowledge University programs, because I think their technology and how they are teaching that technology is really impressive. So, but before I talk too much, I wanna ask Haqqan about it, because he's the creator of this idea. And so Haqqan, first of all, you are coming from a very impressive background and a little bit different background. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself first?
Yes, hi, nice to meet you all. My name is Haqqan Lau. I am actually a neuroscientist by training. So I come from, I can say I have some experience in tertiary education. I was a university professor as of just half a year ago. I was a tenure full professor at UCLA, and before that, I was an associate professor at Columbia University. So currently, I'm based in Japan, but I'm still actually in academic research. So yeah, so it sounds maybe impressive, but also somewhat irrelevant. I'm not really full-time in Web3, or it might sound curious. Why am I even here doing this? So I'm an academic by training, but this is kind of like my other second life that I also do, which is providing training in zero knowledge through product building in this space.
Great. And so, and how did you decide to get involved with Harmony and Zero Knowledge University? I mean, you started this, right? You started this training program. How did it evolve?
Yeah, I can be honest about this. The story once told maybe less impressive, but so the founder of Harmony One, Stephen Te, was my friend, has been my friend for almost 3 decades. So as 2 young teenagers, we learned how to code together back in Hong Kong when we were both in middle school. So the project started a lot based on that friendship and trust. So I knew that Harmony is a great project because my friend Stephen, he has ensembled a team of very strong engineers that were building, I know, a solid technology behind, and a lot of people were interested and invested into it, etc. But I also, based on the friendship, know that the project also has a flavor from day one that is not just a technically strong project, but it was also we really mean to be a Web3 technology, implement radical inclusion and social change. And so when Stephen asked me to do this, I knew that it will be technically a little bit out of my depth. It will be challenging in many ways. I'm not a computer scientist by training, but I also know that the philanthropy angle of it would fit very well. And with Web3, is a technological development, but also the interesting thing is it opens up a lot of global opportunities. So when we decided to treat every person as a person, regardless of their gender, race, and also country of origin, etc., when we try to pay everyone the same, we know that this is basically a very radical social experiment. When we at Harmony, when we decided to pay everyone, even the part-time employees, casual employees, like $75 per hour, we knew that it's a crazy idea because in Bay Area it may be a good salary, but in some other places it's like an unheard of salary. And then we knew that this is the way to go. And if we can pay someone in Bay Area $75, we should be able to pay everyone the same if they're doing the same job everywhere. So it's with that kind of thinking behind that I got interested in helping out in the project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. And as I see in your team right now, there are people from all over the world, right?
Yeah, I think the teaching team is from 5 different continents, and the governance as well. Just our DAO governance is from all over the place. We have people from Africa, India, Hong Kong, Europe, and actually America might be the least represented in some ways, strangely, wow. Because I recently just moved from LA to Japan. Now I think we have only one teaching staff that is based in America. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And another interesting thing, I remember you telling me that like people who complete this upcoming training, they can, if they do well, they can join to you as a teaching assistant and get paid $75 per hour, right?
Yeah, so that's the $75 per hour is basically a Harmony standard, and we adopted it the same way in CKU and CKDAO employment, or maybe not employment, payment. So the first cohort of students, many of them, the best graduates actually join us to become teaching staff themselves, and we pay them $75 per hour.
Yeah, this is a very important part. I want to come to this towards the end of it, just to remind people that there is this opportunity. I mean, if they join your program, a 2-month training program, and graduate well, I mean, they have these job opportunities at the end as well. So that is actually very important for Patika. Like when we do trainings for people, we try to make sure that it is connected to an income opportunity. It is not just a training by itself. So that's why it was very important for us to reach out to you and learn about the program. So congratulations for having this structure. And so obviously there are a lot of technologies. The Web3 area is a little bit confusing for a lot of Web2 developers right now. There are so many new technologies coming up all the time. So can you tell us the difference of zero knowledge products and why are they so significant for you, for the blockchain ecosystem?
Yeah, I think there are a number of ways to talk about this, but I think the most immediate impact that the zero knowledge technology had in the past year, I think everyone has kind of waken up to zero knowledge proof technology, which has been around for a long time. I mean, the math has been there since the 1980s, and actually a few years back, when during the last kind of bear cycle of the cryptocurrency market, my good friend and founder of Harmony told me to get into zero knowledge proof product building, and I was actually very reluctant then, because back then the tooling wasn't quite there. So getting in the field involved mostly reading a lot of research papers. But I think in the last few years really has changed, and I think in the one product that has really shaken up the space is really CK rollups. So maybe let me explain this way. So zero knowledge proof technology is just a very simple technology that allows you to prove to another entity that you have a piece of knowledge without revealing what that piece of knowledge is. So an everyday example would be like you try to get into a bar or a club, that then they want you to see your ID to prove that your age is old enough, right? Your birthday is a certain range, and what you end up doing is showing them your ID, which contains all sorts of other information that you don't want them to know necessarily. And so with zero knowledge proof, the analogy is where you can actually just demonstrate that I have this information and is a legit piece of information, is valid, and is satisfied these constraints, but you don't need to know what that information is. You don't need to know my birthday. You just need to know I'm old enough to order a drink at your bar. And there's other proofs. I mean, there are other physical analogies like that I can go into, but just based on this idea that you can basically demonstrate you have a piece of information without revealing the information, that the obvious use case would be privacy. But the interesting implication is it also means that it's a very effective way of doing data compression. Because sometimes the whole piece of information you want to prove that you have might be very large. But now that sometimes you don't need to actually send the piece of information over, you just need to send the proof over that you have the piece of information. So in distributed computing, this becomes very, very effective, because in a distributed computing system, I don't need to send you all the information, like all the transaction history of my cryptocurrency operations. I just need to show you, I prove to you that I actually have the information, and then you can be convinced, and the proof can be very fast. So that leads to a product called CK Rollups, which has been really useful for the cryptocurrency space, because in those cryptocurrency systems, those blockchain systems, things are very not very easily scalable, because the whole premise of distributed computing in blockchain is that everybody has to keep a version of all the transaction history, and to synchronize them together becomes very clumsy. And that's why some sort of systems like Ethereum has become very bloated. So the gas fees and the transaction fees become very high. But with zero knowledge rollups, you can actually very easily synchronize the systems together. So that has really, I think, got a lot of people's attention, and everybody sees that basically the whole Web3 space infrastructure will be rebuilt or enhanced using zero knowledge proof technology.
Yeah, I guess this is a very strong statement, and it shows, I think, the potential of the technology. I mean, if people go into this and learn about this now, they may be really valuable people in the blockchain industry if really it becomes the main, mainstream technology used in the background, right?
I think so. I think, yeah, you mentioned about these opportunities earlier. I think if you get into Web3 itself, I think the opportunities are tremendous, and that's also part of why we want to tell people we would not want to pay you for less than $75 per hour, because the kind of ratio of resources to talent is very, very high. It reminds me a lot of how machine learning was like a decade ago, when it was just about the current wave just exploded. Because being a neuroscience, I know of some of these people who are now doing at the forefront of doing machine learning building. And 10 years ago, it was exactly like that when it first exploded. A lot of resources around, and just if you know how to build, you will be hired. Like, you don't have to worry about, you more have the power of choosing on your hand. And Web3 itself is a bit like that. And the part of the puzzle, interestingly, is that the mass adoption has not happened because of the scalability issues I talked about earlier. So things are very slow, and security is not that great. The technology itself should be great, but it's just all these scalability issues also brings in also scalability issues that people worry that they get hacked. And some of the applications are very, very slow and takes a high transaction cost. So with zero knowledge proof enhancing that, it also would come the very high likelihood or inevitability of mass adoption. So with that, I think, yeah, the opportunities are great right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is, yeah, it can really change a lot of things, how companies work, how people use their products. I mean, it can really affect if it can be scaled up. So that's great. And so let's go into your the Zero Knowledge University that you started, because lots of people wants to hear about it. I see on YouTube people ask about how they can join the program, how do you accept people. So can you tell us a little bit about what is this Zero Knowledge University you started? How long is the program? I just want to again emphasize to people, it is all free, but you tell a little bit more to us, but like just first of all, tell us about the Zero Knowledge University. What do you teach people? How long does it take? How do you support these people to learn? And what kind of assignments are there?
Yeah, so it's a kind of maybe not exactly short. Is a 2-month online course. So it takes about 7-8 weeks, and then with some extra weeks to finish building your project. So I think people should have to commit 2 months to it. I understand that very few people can do it full time. So we're not thinking about like 2 months full time, but it's a fairly intensive course. I think you should take it seriously as a major part-time side commitment. It's definitely takes maybe a couple of hours a day, that sort of commitment to do well. So we, of course, we do it for free. I mean, we don't charge people tuition for that, because that's just what we believe should be about in Web3, where everything is open source. So the entire Harmony infrastructure is also open source. Everything we build is open source. So we believe that any pedagogical exercise that goes along with it should be the same. But more than that, we also pay people some modest incentives to just complete assignments. So every assignment you complete, it would attract a couple of $100 US, just because we think you're spending time doing this, and in some ways, just by being there and taking the trouble to learn this, in fact, you're bringing value to the community, right? So in a way, you should be compensated for it, and that might sound a little bit crazy, but I think this is another good thing about Web3, is that we can really try to reconceptualize the economics behind a lot of these things. And I think once you put it in economic terms, of course, people are learning stuff. They are bringing value to the community, right? So they should be paid, and anything the opposite is actually more bizarre. So we are actually paying them. It's not a lot of money. So through the 2 months, they can earn up to maybe I think the next cohort will be about $3,000, the maximum they can earn. So part of it is just completing assignments, and we have a team of paid teaching staff to actually engage online on our Discord servers, answer questions. And there are like live office hours, AMA hours where they're answering questions about assignments. But on top of that, the students also become very active in the community and help each other. And the most helpful students are also voted every week, and then they get some cash prize on top as well. And then if you turn in your assignment, if they're outstanding, that you hit all the bonus questions, then we also pay them a little bit extra. So that's how added together you can get almost like, I think it's like $3,000 for the whole course. Yeah. So the
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So
okay.
Content-wise, we are 2 months is a short time, and maybe I can start backwards and start. The end goal is that you can build your own product by the end of it. It can be a small product. It doesn't have to be a. I mean, some of them will build great products. We don't know, but the minimum requirement is that you build a product that actually people can use using zero knowledge technology. And so based on that, then basically we start from week 1. We will be going through very quickly the basic theories of CK. We try to compress it as much as we can, and skip through the math to the extent that we can conceptually get through it without the details, because it's really focused on applied knowledge. And then we go through the major topics, let's say privacy, data compression. And then with CK, you can also do other kind of randomization to make sure that things are fair. We hit the major topics, but I think the major emphasis is that we go through some of the most popular protocols in the space. So every week we'll go through basically 2 products, and then the teaching staff would actually show demos and go through the code and design of these products. And then students really learn to get under the hood and do assignments about understanding the different aspects of the product, sometimes do some modifications, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I love the aspect of like you are really encouraging people to help each other in the Discord. I guess that's a very important part of it, right? I mean, these people are not just sitting there and just listening to a trainer and just not doing anything. They're actively doing things. They're actively helping each other, and you are actually showing people like who is the most helpful student in the program. That's really good, I think.
Yeah, I think I think with all the online courses, that's usually the problem, right? So getting content out there is not the hardest part. And a lot of, maybe with CK is a bit harder because it's newer. But I think if you look back in half a year, we are not the only one doing online training. Other people are doing it. So the online materials will become pretty plentiful. But I think keeping the students motivated is hard, and especially with in-person training is easier. So I used to teach at university, as I mentioned. So when you're there in person, it makes a huge difference building that rapport with the student. And with doing things online, it becomes a lot harder. And we reckon that when the students have a community that people start to interact and help each other, it really becomes a kind of like a family, and people start to build friendship over these courses. And that's what we want, because ultimately, after they build the product, so the product itself, if it get launched, it can also attract further prices. So the course itself paid them a few $1,000s, but launching the product, we can talk more about. We actually can pay out a fairly large grant for the product, and then they also get inducted into our DAO. Our basically, you can think of it as a club member of club membership of graduates. And then from there, that's also a community there that they can together, build new products together, form partnerships, go to hackathons together. And that's what we really want. And it's a community that we are trying to build.
Yeah, I will definitely come to that question, because I think this concept of, getting grants and joining DAOs, there's something completely new. It is kind of changing our habits from Web2 world when we are going to Web3. So I will ask you more about it. But when we go back to this training you are doing, so obviously it is a challenging course, as you said. And who would be a good fit for the program, do you think? Because you mentioned in your website, like, you should be able to understand computer science fundamentals if you are coming to the program. But can you elaborate on that, and what kind of skills would help these people to complete this program successfully?
Yeah, I think when we said that they have to be comfortable with computer science classes, that was how we started. But we ended up having a fair bit of people who actually have not finished their college degrees or are not otherwise very happy with university training. I think the bottom line is they have to code. So this is definitely not a course that they can just watch passively on YouTube and learn. They have to actually get their hands dirty building. So they have to be good coders. They have to be comfortable with coding. And in particular, they have to start the course, ideally, they are already good Web3 builders. So they have to be comfortable using language for writing smart contracts like Solidity. They should have some JavaScript background. So we set our background assignment where they can check whether they are ready. So how much of a pro they need to be. And I think the short answer is they don't need to be very good at Web3 building. They need to have some familiarity, and more important, they just need to be strong coders. I think when there are a good number of students who started out not knowing a lot of Web3 building, but they are otherwise good at coding, and they picked up the Web3 building part fairly quickly. So Web3 building is not a particularly unique skill. I mean, it's just coding. So I would think if someone who's good at learning computer programming languages, and if they spend a couple of weeks or up to a month, getting the Web3 basics going, I think they would do well in the course.
Yeah, this is good to hear. And when you say good coders, like, is there a specific language that would be more comfortable when learning this course, do you think? Yeah,
I think the basic would really be JavaScript. Yeah, so they need to know JavaScript. And if they're good at JavaScript or some similar languages, learning Solidity should not be that hard. It's not. I mean, Solidity sort of looks like JavaScript. It's a bit different. It has its own quirks. So you do need at least a couple of weeks and up to a month to get used to it. And then on top of that, if they have Rust background, that would be really handy. But it's not compulsory. So because in the later part of the course, they have an option of choosing to go deeper into infrastructure building. And if you want to build not just an application, a product for people to use, but you want to build actual cryptocurrency space infrastructure like bridges or build your own blockchain, then you probably would need Rust. But that one is, I mean, it'll be handy to have, but a lot of our students don't have it, so that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. This is great. So if you already know JavaScript, you are already great. Just to summarize this, and there is a background assignment to join this course, and that assignment needs some Solidity background, and you will submit an assignment there. So actually at Patika, we are planning to help the people who are interested in the program to complete that assignment and then join the program. And actually, we did a sign up form, and more than 40 people already said that they are very comfortable with the background assignment, so they can just join now. So that is good news. There are a handful of people who want to improve themselves in this 1 month, learn a little bit Solidity, submit the assignment, and then join your course if they work hard, obviously. So it looks like there is no need to be very afraid of it. So if you are a good coder, especially in JavaScript, go for it and start learning Solidity now. And so one point is like your next cohort is starting in May, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, almost exactly a month from here. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you have 1 month to submit that background assignment and hopefully get accepted to the program. So do you have any other admission criteria when you are accepting the people to the cohort apart from the background assignment?
Pretty much minimal. So you have to have, I think you can have, you could have taken the previous cohort too. I think there's some very basic eligibility, but the philosophy I can say is pretty much none. We really want to take everyone in because it's also consistent with the philosophy of radical inclusion. So regardless wherever you are, what you've done, we don't check your credentials, we don't really want to know almost. And so we actually, today we just decided also, because we are paying people money, there has been this sensitive issue of whether we need to know who they are. So the process for KYC, know your customer or client, and because we are really not a paid service, we are not a business. We don't make profit. In fact, the DAO is not even a legal entity. So we just decided we don't even need to know who they are. So if you can do your job like that, that's it. We don't need to know in a way. So I think that's really why we would say that our model is more like learn to earn rather than a scholarship program. So when I explained to my former colleagues in academia, they would say, oh, so you're just running this and paying out scholarships. I think yes and no. Yes, in the way we are paying people, but scholarship usually is based on your past record, right? And here it's really more based on what you will do. We don't really care how you've done in the past, what education you had, but to the extent that you can code at this point and you're willing to put in the time to get it done, we'll reward you. I think that's more the philosophy.
Yeah, this is one of the things that is very hard to understand. I think it is completely against what we learned until this point in our lives. You know, just as you said, we were always evaluated with our background. We apply to jobs and company looks at our resume and everything. And you are now saying that just come and learn in the program and I'm going to pay you to do that. And you said a modest amount, but actually earning $3,000 in 2 months is a lot of money for Turkey right now, especially because of the currency fluctuations and everything. So this is like such a great opportunity, but I think because it is so kind of counterintuitive for so many people, can you explain a little bit, why are you paying these people to learn? Like, what do you get out of it? Like, why is it so important for you just to grow your community here?
Yeah, I think it comes from, there's a kind of more childish and not so important part, which is kind of like how a lot of us in this space come from. So I mentioned about Stephen, the founder of Harmony, and so we grew up as teenagers who learned how to code in the 1990s, and a lot of them come from that philosophy that we were not university graduate from some famous US research institutes where some teenagers in Hong Kong and why we didn't like to be discriminated then, and why would we try to impose it to other people? And I think part of that is that, but that's a maybe less personal way to put this. I think many people didn't quite didn't find it so easy to wrap their head around it. Is a lot of cryptocurrency companies actually don't make profit in the traditional sense. I mean, it's not like we don't care about money. So crypto is ultimately quite directly linked to money. We don't dislike money, but the way that we make money is really not by the way that usual companies work. Like we have a balance sheet and we have income. So we have a product, we sell them, and then we sell the product, we get income, and then we have a cost that we it's like staff costs, etc. And the difference is our profit. We actually don't operate in that kind of model at all. In fact, the only way for Stephen, the founder of Harmony, to make money, or for me to make money, is to see that our community grows in value. So our community token, the Harmony token, will grow in value. So every time our one token rises by 10%, then we make 10% of income, and so does everyone holding the token. So it kind of puts everything into a kind of new perspective. It's a very much a non-zero sum game. So usually in a company, when your boss pay you $1 less, then that means that the cost goes down for $1. It means that the company's profit goes up for $1, right? So it's a direct almost conflict. Like of course the boss would like to pay you less, then there will be more profit. But for us, it's not like that, because we don't have a cost per se, nor do we have an income. So our foundation money is just the money that is there with the only purpose, which is to grow the community, which would thereby grow the value of the whole system. So spending money just becomes much more liberating in some ways, because we don't have to be fiscally responsible in that traditional sense. Every dollar we spend is just think about how do we bring value to the whole utility and function of the whole community. So in that sense, paying people to learn makes a lot of sense, because we want a community to have a lot of really well-trained and quality developers. And it's not just us. I think every other community in the Web3 space face exactly the same parameters, the same situation. But they may not be so crazy like we are to just run this to the logical conclusion and say, well, because of what I just said, we should just spend ourselves out of existence and just put all the money into people's hands, so then and attract them to become really good builders in our community. And we might be a bit more radical in that sense, but I think this is really a Web3 philosophy too.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned before in our conversation that like 10 years ago or something, there was this machine learning adoption in the world. And I guess right now, the Web3 adoption is like a little bit different than that, because of this aspect of it too. It is really awarding people to join the community. Can you tell us a little bit about it? And this, so the ZK DAO is creating this program, right? Like, so can you tell us like how the DAO is playing a role in this? Because I think it is also a new concept for our community to understand.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, when machine learning happened, it was very exciting for a lot of people. But for people like myself who have a philosophy background and neuroscience, we know that machine learning has come and went a few times, and come and gone a few times. And I think the problem really is that it created these giant companies. Some are run by my good friends and former colleagues. So I don't want to say that they are evil companies, but it's also true that they become centralized. They really do everything, right? So a lot of these companies are so powerful because they have good tech and because they run a good business model. But I think a large part is also because they're so big, they're sitting on this huge amount of data, which allow them to run these machine learning algorithms so well. So it really becomes a hoarding issue, and it's very centralized. They are the big guys, and they own everything, and you can't really challenge them. And I think the whole basics of Web3 is different, because the whole premise is we want to decentralize everything. From the very basic of Bitcoin, we don't want one person to have the power to dictate everything. And that is, in fact, the power of our technology. So we kind of have to empower every individual, especially builders, especially with Harmony, which we focus on infrastructure building. So anyone who's a hardcore developer, we want to empower them. And so the DAOs are also built on that kind of philosophy. So a DAO is just a decentralized autonomous organization. So it's basically like a club without an owner. So everyone has an ownership. You can vote. And in our CK DAO, which our Harmony CK DAO, one aspect, which is probably something we should get into as well, is we pay people basic income. So if you're a DAO member, typically it's because you launch a product. Let's say a past graduate who launched the final project, and a successful launch can attract them up to $15,000 per year to be paid like recurrently every year, as long as our DAO treasury allows. And that condition that the treasury, in fact, is managed by the DAO members. So it's not like if I run out of money, it's gone. Like the money is there, and it's been budgeted to last basically forever, unless we do something not so clever. And whether we do that is up to you as well, because you're part of overseeing that. So it's really a club that is meant to run itself forever, and every member of the DAO would have that ownership. And that is really just to go against the situation that has happened in Web2 or in those machine learning companies culture, that a few big companies own everything. We really want everyone to be part of this and have the options to really challenge anyone who would try to centralize things again.
Yeah, this is great. And just to summarize again, like if you graduate from this 2-month program and you already have some graduation criteria, you do those assignments and everything. But at the same time, if you decide to continue building these products, you are gonna pay the basic income up to $15,000 a year. Again, it is a very good salary for Turkey. So some people may ask, like, what kind of products are we talking about to get this basic income? Like, can you tell us, maybe give us an example of people doing this?
Yeah. So right now, I can be more specific. So if you just launch a product and then make the product not owned by yourself. So I think basically I can say the 5 milestones. The first one is just to launch basically any product that use zero knowledge technology. So long as, at least right now at the current stage, we are basically funding all products so long as it has a meaningful use case. So let's say you have a protocol, let's say you build a game. In fact, a game can be CK powered. So playing the game can be, you can be anonymous and still earn some rewards playing the game, but without revealing all your identities. Or the game can be using CK to ensure some aspects of fairness. So people, there are interesting use cases of games in the CK space. Or let's say it's just some sort of a voting mechanism is another popular. So people can vote. Let's say in a company, we can vote on peer bonuses. But then when we vote that, the votes wouldn't be seen by the manager. In fact, there will be no manager because it's decentralized and it would be private. So any kind of, so long as there's a meaningful use case, we don't really even care how good the product is. We'll basically give you the first milestone, which will be $3,000 per year of basic income. And then the second step is we want you to not own the product, which is maybe counterintuitive. We want you to set up a DAO so that the DAO owns the protocol. So you can be part of the DAO, but the idea is that if you suddenly decided to quit, the product should be able to live a life on its own, to continue its own course. And then the third would be that you need to audit your code, and then you actually need to launch a product on our mainnet so people can actually use it. Then from there, then it's like 3,000 per milestone. So third milestone is like $9,000 per year. And I would say that is pretty much almost like a no-brainer. If you finish the course, you should be able to do that. It's just mostly just diligence. You need to get your get your milestones. And then the fourth and the fifth one depends on users. So I think the fourth milestone is 1,000 users, and then the fifth milestone is 10,000 users. So that depends on the popularity and usability of the product, and that's not just up to us. It's up to really how good your product is. So 15,000 is maybe not entirely trivial to attain, but anything between 9 to 15 should be up to you. Yeah.
That's awesome. Actually, I like the examples that you gave, and especially when you said game, I was happy because Turkish community is very well known with this, like their interest in game development and everything. Like our game development bootcamps are some of the like most popular ones. So I'm sure that when people hear like, oh great, I can do games using this technology, that would be very interesting for some people, I'm sure.
Certainly, yeah, and it doesn't even have to be very complicated games. I mean, we were just talking just this past week because our current cohort, they're choosing projects. And some very basic games like poker is not actually easy to be implemented in a completely secure and fair way. So you can have a very centralized game engine, but what if someone cheats? I mean, I know that you would think playing poker who would cheat. Well, if the poker game involves a certain real money at stake, that you really don't want to trust the server to be fair. So you really want to wait that you make sure that the cards are dealt fairly, and yet nobody can tamper and know exactly what cards are being dealt. So solving these problems can involve CK, and that can be a game of huge potential.
Yeah, thank you for giving this example. I think that will make it more clear in people's heads. And so, by the way, for the audience, so we are going into our last like 15 minutes now. So please ask your questions on YouTube. And I already received like 5 questions. Now I will start asking, but before that, do you have an example from a person who joined this course and just did the things you said here, and like how their lives were affected after joining this?
Yes. Well, most of our current teaching staff actually come from the course, and it was a little bit of personal privacy. I shouldn't say too much, but I think it has a fairly strong impact on them. I think one thing is the teaching salary or the payment that we compensate for teaching is on the order of basically what an assistant professor in the US make. We're starting out as an assistant professor in the US, and now I'm thinking, well, we didn't get paid that well, and we're compensating them well. And so I think that's also when we started to think the basic income route would be important. So some of our teaching staff, when they first approached me, they said, well, you're paying me quite well, but I'm really still hesitant to quit my normal day job because Web3 feels very risky and new. And what happens if the course doesn't go well, and then I'll be left with nothing again. And that's when we decided, well, we need to pay these people more stable, perpetual money. So the basic income, like I explained, would continue even if the course ceased to exist, or even if your product would fail, we'll continue to pay from the DAO treasury. So that is the kind of security we feel that people need to quit the day job. And some people have in fact quit their other jobs. And I think that certainly has changed them a fair bit. And actually one of the other teaching staff was my former PhD student. And I think many of my other colleagues might disapprove because they feel that, you're an academic, you should train people to stay in academia. I don't really believe that. I think the choice is really theirs, right? If they see opportunities in industry, they should go for it. So I trust the program enough to put my own former PhD student into the program, and she's now doing really great. And so she has a quantum computing background and physics background, and so with me she learned enough neuroscience, but now she's decided to just basically leave that path and apply her skill set into Web3, and she's really killing it. And I think it's really, really exciting to see.
Wow, yeah, I remember seeing your resume and her resume. I was like, wow, just, yeah, you guys are coming from a very different, very impressive background and going into this. It is I think it makes me and some other people to trust this process more, what you are doing. So congratulations for that. So now I will switch to the questions coming from the people watching our video. So one of them is like, so about the separate parts of the course. So you mentioned on your website there are 2 streams, stream A and stream B, I guess, that people will choose. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is the first time we started these 2 streams. I think we'll continue. So I mentioned earlier that if you have a Rust background, then you can choose stream A to do this infrastructure building. And infrastructure building is not necessarily for everyone. I mean, it's really mostly a matter of temperament, what you want to do. So if you want to build games and build products, applications that people want to use, then you don't necessarily want to do that. But I think some people are in the web3 space, like my friends at Harmony. They are really interested in thinking about how to build the whole basic infrastructure, the platform for everyone. And technically is a huge challenge. I mean, just how you have a system that is highly decentralized, no central point of failure. And so all the different people would have to hold the transaction history and they have to synchronize in a way that is secure and fast. So that is a technical challenge that is intellectually very, very stimulating to think about. And also in terms of growth, usually when you do infrastructure work, that's where the real traction really is. I mean, if you build something that just a little bridge between 2 chains that turn out to be used, it can really generate a lot of revenue and users, etc. So some people are into that, but with that you need Rust background, and you need to be a really solid backend builder. And some people, are more by temperament, they might be more in the creative type. They're more interested in UX, UI, user experiences and front end building. Then they probably don't want to do that. So and the good thing is you don't have to choose right at the beginning. You get to choose about 1 month into the course, and by then you probably would know, after doing some assignments, which fits you better.
Okay, this is very helpful. Thank you. And another question is about the application deadline. It says that it is May 2nd, but they say that would really be disadvantaged if we submit it in the last minute, like May 1st. Or I mean, can you answer that?
Yeah, I think just the earlier you start preparing, the better. So this is also why we started advertising this cohort so much earlier. I think it's fair to say, I mean, as an online course, a lot of people would underestimate how much work it takes. And we are being realistic. We don't expect anyone to be able to do it full time. Most other people have other things to do. If you can do it full time, great. But we expect most of you won't. But still, it's a major commitment. Think of it as like learning Japanese, which is what I'm doing now. I think most people would say, yay, when they started, they're very excited. And then can you actually put in a couple of hours a day to do that? And that's where a lot of people would struggle, right? So your level of enthusiasm and commitment, comes and goes. And we don't want to lock you in like those gym memberships and have to, micromanage you and make you show up, etc. So we want you to just do it. And we hope that the positive incentives would help. But yeah, starting to prepare early is good. Don't leave it to the last minute.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. And apart from that, like you will have a cohort in May, and then are you going to continue it during the year?
Yeah.
Are you going to do new ones? Yeah.
Yes. So that's something I hate to. I have to be honest about. Like, we will have it every 2 months, and some students say, "Oh, so does it mean that if I don't do it now, I can do it 2 months later?" The answer is yes, but I think the space grows so fast. It's in your interest to try to get into it early. So if you really can't make it, that's fine. And in fact, we will encourage people who are not fully ready to take the time. So if you haven't even you've coded that much, you should do some basic coding with you guys and do the boot camps with you guys and get ready first. The incentives might diminish over time a little bit. I think that's the nature of everything in Web3. So usually the people who get in early have some perks. And also like the teaching positions that we offer, we won't be offering them. I mean, it depends on how much teaching needs we have, right? So right now we have a higher need. So I think we'll continue to hire quite a bit, but at some point those positions will be gone. So get in early it's a good thing to do.
Okay, this was a very good point, I guess. Thank you for being open about it. And yeah, guys, by the way, like just we as Patika, as I said, will try to help you to submit this assignment and then get in there as early as possible, as you said. And this is great. And there is another question. It is not about the course, but generally about the technology that says when a user starts control of his data using zero knowledge proofs, how will data-driven marketing be affected by this? I think a new marketing method is emerging.
I think definitely yes. I think currently a lot of this comes back to the problem of data hoarding. So a lot of these protocols in the Web2 space become so powerful, like Facebook and Google, because they have all this data. And in the Web3 space, I think it's all going to be different because nobody owns the data. And I think there are different stages that will happen. So in Bitcoin, as you see, the data is all public, right? So all the transactions are public, so anyone can access. So it gives you a lot of mining and the kind of analysis opportunities. And then the next stage would be with CK, people will start to be able to hide their own data. And that's interesting because suddenly then nobody have access to the data anymore in principle. We're not quite there yet because not everyone is using CK, but eventually I think people would come to their senses and use CK to protect their own privacy. Then the data would become not there. And that may be kind of challenging if you're interested in that kind of marketing. But I think what is the final stage, which we anticipate, is that then eventually, because people can hold the data, they can also sell the data. So in a sense, when I'm doing my Google searches, I'm actually, so Google not owns my data, my search history, and they can use it to send advertisements to me. So in a sense, I should be able to sell them my history because they're benefiting from me, right? They're benefiting from seeing my transaction history. So I should be at some point be able to say what data is work, basically my personal data is work. So because you want my data to benefit your advertisement program, I should be able to get a piece of that profit back. So then people will be able to sell that and sell it exactly at a fair way, depending on the market, and sell it only to people who you want to sell to. If I don't like Facebook, I can sell it to another company, etc. And that will become really exciting. But we are not there yet. But I think we should be with what we're doing and expanding the space. We do anticipate it should happen in the next few years.
Yeah, wow, that is a big change, I think, in our lives, definitely. So it is exciting. And there is one last question I want to ask, and then we can wrap up from there. Ufuk Jan says, I have a C background instead of Rust. Would it help me?
Definitely, certainly. Okay. Certainly. Yeah, I think, anyone with any major, I mean, it's kind of like a general question. If you're very good C++ coder, would you learn JavaScript? Okay, I think, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you'll do fine. I think it's not, I mean, the different languages are a bit like European languages, right? If you speak a few of them, you at some point you would learn any new ones very quickly.
Great. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for everyone joining this program, and thank you, Haqqan, for joining us from Japan. I know it has been a very busy period for you, but thank you for taking the time. And I think we were in a good timing to have this event to tell people about the program, and then hopefully we can prepare some people in this 1 month to really submit the assignments and join you. And there may be a big Turkish community suddenly in your Discord, but hopefully you would like that.
Great. That would be great. We like the diversity and see more people. And I really appreciate the work you guys are doing as well, like helping the community as well as our project. So it's been great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And please, I mean, as you are interested in the program, go into our website that we just shared here and fill in that form, and we will reach out to you guys who are interested in joining our support group. And also we are informing there people about the background assignments. So you can find all that information there. And thank you so much, Haqqan. Let's see how we will grow this community with people from Turkey. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.